The Chief Justice Raymond Zondo has presented the annual Judiciary report at the Constitutional Court in Braamfontein. He says that judges will not be intimidated by anybody, no matter who they are. Former President Jacob Zuma's unprecedented contempt of court and subsequent July 2021 unrest are among the incidents that tested the Constitutional Court's role as the upper guardian of the Constitution to the limit in 2021-2022. For more on this, we're joined by Zikhona Ndlebe from Judges Matter. Zikhona, a pleasure to have you on the program this evening. Now, before we get into the comments delivered in this report, firstly help us understand what is a judiciary report and what exactly does it seek to do?
So the former Chief Justice Mogoeng, when he was still Chief Justice, decided that it is prudent in terms of the constitutional provisions that the judiciary accounts to the general public. And this is in terms of the Constitution. So the judiciary report provides, it's an accountability mechanism to the general public. So it provides the state of the judiciary in terms of matters that the judiciary is dealing with and whether it is meeting its targets. So basically it is the Chief Justice reporting to the general public about the state of the judiciary.
Now, as you rightfully say, publishing the report and the performance indicators is really an attempt which was introduced by the retired Chief Justice Mogoeng back in 2018 to also create this greater transparency surrounding the judiciary. Since then, as Judges Matter, do you think this has been achieved?
With the previous reports, because there was no there was no Q&A sessions, for example, for members of parliament. But with this year's report, we saw that the general public, well, not the general public, but the people that were in the Constitutional Court today were able to ask questions. And this is not only journalists, but the people that are sitting in the JSC, the members of parliament that sit in the portfolio committee, the Department of Justice that was there. So many stakeholders were able to pose questions to the Chief Justice relating to the report. So that is an improvement.
Yeah. Let's shift gears now. I mean, Judge Zikhona Ndlebe's thunderous indictment of former President Jacob Zuma's contempt of court on behalf of the Constitutional Court majority saw the former president being sentenced to 15 months in prison. And that was a decision that really triggered unrest as well as several attacks on judges. Now, during that period, Zondo said that judges were attacked, demeaned, threatened, and also intimidated. Now, this also became so bad that the Constitutional Court justices had to be given special protection. Clearly, this points to a number of issues. Give us some reflection or insight for what of that period and what your thoughts were as Judges Matter.
You know, all we can say as Judges Matter is that it's so unfortunate that there were so many attacks towards the judiciary, and we still see some attacks towards the judiciary by politicians, and it's quite unfortunate, and it's uncalled for. Basically, you know, the judiciary is only accountable to the Constitution, right? So judges have a duty to dispense with the law, to dispense justice, and they are not supposed to do this with fear. So they have to do it without fear, favor, or prejudice, and this is in terms of the Constitution. So we are hoping that we will not see this or similar incidents such as we did see during the previous years when Justice Zikhona Ndlebe handed down the judgment in the Zuma case. We're really hoping that we won't see anything similar in the future. And the most important thing is that people need to understand that judges are accountable to the Constitution and they need to dispense justice without fear, favor, or prejudice. That's the most important thing.
Now, despite those attacks, the ruling had been very critical to protect not only the Constitution, but the country's democracy as well. Give us a sense of what message it also sent, not just to those within legal circles, but also to the general public.
You know, the most important message that we took out from that ruling was the fact that no person is above the law. And that is the most important thing that people, the general public, need to understand. Because for the first time, we saw a high political figure being held to account by the judiciary. So it sent a very strong message that no one is above the law. And that is how the law should apply.
Now, another event that had a similar impact was the attack on the judiciary by Tourism Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, and Chief Justice Zondo had said that the judiciary responded to her remarks decisively at the time, adding that while the judiciary might not respond to every criticism or insult, it also reserves to itself the right to draw a line whenever it may draw it and respond publicly and also decisively to attacks on it. What did you make of that response, and Zondo issuing a stern warning to those who are doubting the credibility of judges?
With the current Chief Justice, well, it was not the first time that we saw a Chief Justice speaking out about attacks towards the judiciary. We saw with the former Chief Justice Mogoeng speaking out and saying that when there are allegations of corruption towards judges, people need to come forward with evidence so that the necessary action can be taken. And we saw the same thing basically happening with the current Chief Justice when Minister Lindiwe Sisulu basically attacked the judiciary, and with everything that she said in her op-ed piece that she penned down. It was correct that Chief Justice Zondo spoke out and defended the judiciary, because it's important that the judiciary is not intimidated when it comes to matters that it has to deal with in court.
Right.
And intimidation comes in different forms. Intimidation will come in a form where politicians will pen down op-ed pieces that seek to attack the judiciary. And it goes back to what I've said before, that the judiciary has to dispense justice without fear, favor, or prejudice, and no one can stand in its way.
Now, the 82-page report also reflected that the judiciary, that is mostly, the assessment was that it's generally in good health for the 2021-2022 financial year when considering the targets met by different courts compared with other South African institutions as well. What has been your own observation in this regard?
You're absolutely correct. The general overview is that the judiciary has performed very well for the years 2021 and 2022. We saw that from the report that the Constitutional Court has met its target. The Supreme Court of Appeal has also met its target. So 10 out of 13 courts have met their target. And obviously there are 3 that have not met their targets. That's the Competition Appeal Court, the Land Claims Court, and the target relating to criminal matters being finalized in the superior courts in all divisions. So those are the 3 that had not met their target. But in general, the judiciary has performed well.
And just in general, given the current electricity crisis in the country, it was also highlighted in some of the questions posed by journalists to the Chief Justice as to how can they ensure that every court at least has some form of backup. Give us your sense as well insofar as how the judiciary can tackle other emerging problems, especially as we've seen in the advent of this power crisis.
It's quite concerning that we have seen some courts not being able to perform their duties because of load shedding. It's a huge concern. And we've also seen that some courts do not have generators. And this affects all courts, but I need to highlight that it is very concerning that we see the lower courts not having generators because of load shedding. But there have been systematic issues that have been in existence in the lower courts. And load shedding is adding to those issues. For example, not having recording machines, having to postpone cases because of not having recording machines, not having paper to print out orders on. It's concerns that have been there, and the power crisis is adding onto those concerns. And the judiciary needs to work towards resolving these issues. There needs to be generators in all courts. And we've seen that in some courts there is no Wi-Fi. These are issues that have been in existence, and load shedding is adding on to systematic issues that are already there.
That was Zikhona Ndlebe from Judges Matter, also alluding to comments there made by the Chief Justice earlier, saying that the judiciary will not be intimidated by anybody.